This is a show about getting spooked for fun, and neither one of the hosts are associated with the attractions discussed in any way, except for those skeletons in Devin's closet. Some topics may go from ghoulish to ghastly, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Great American Scream.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Great American Scream. My name is Devin Wright.
My name is Adam O'Connell, and we have a very exciting, very spooky guest for today, the second episode of the scariest interviews in the world.
Yes, we are interviewing David Howard Thornton, who plays the inimitable clown character, Art the Clown, in Terrifier on Netflix. It was originally released in 2016 and then wider in 2018. David is a wonderful guest. We just finished our interview with him and it went great. And you're going to hear it right after this.
Yeah, it never fails that the people who play horror villains are the nicest people in the world.
Yes.
And, you know, we wanted to talk to Art, but Art is a silent man.
Yeah,
and this
so
is an
we just
audio
had
medium.
Art sit next to David for the whole interview.
With one horn.
One horn. I did have to edit out all the horns. There might be one that I didn't get.
I don't know why you did. They were great.
Well, you know, it was fine when there was silence, but when David was trying to talk and Art just kept honking the horn, I thought that was kind of rude.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, he's an unhinged man. You can't put Art in a box. You can't control him.
Yeah, he's a rude boy.
He's a rebel, a loner.
Dan Art the Clown. Okay.
Yeah.
Right after this little musical stinger, we'll get right into the interview with David Howard Thornton.
Yeah, enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back from the intro. I hope you had a lovely journey over here. We are here for our second interview episode with an insanely exciting guest. Everyone say hello to David Howard Thornton of the Terrifier movies.
Yay!
Hey! How's everybody doing?
Oh, I'm so excited. Devin and I just rewatched Terrifier in preparation for this episode. Devin for the first time and me again. So Devin live texted me throughout the whole film.
Yeah, I woke up at 8 a.m. this morning with one goal, and that was drink some tea and watch this movie.
What a way to wake up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wide awake.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
I said, no matter what happens, and no matter how insane this movie gets, I need you to at least get to the part where Art is jamming to freeform jazz in the car, because that's the most important part of the whole movie for me.
Yes, which is preceded by, I think, my favorite point, which is when it cuts away from Art reaching out of the door, chained, and then it cuts back to him and he has the horn, which I think is one of the most incredible sequences in any film ever. But we're jumping ahead. David, if you could give us a brief introduction to yourself and then maybe describe both the Terrifier and your character, Art the Clown. Kind of a full rundown.
Yeah. Well, I was born a poor... No, going into the old jerk routine. But no, I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama. I moved up here back in 2006 to New York City because I decided to stop pursuing a teaching career and going to acting, because that was actually my true passion in life. And I tried to start going into this career to get into, I guess you would say, musical theater and voiceover. So I did a lot of that for a while. I toured with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, for 5 years, where I played Grandpa Who. And I also understudied Stephen Carl as the Grinch. If you know who Stephen Carl was, he was Robbie Rotten on Lazy Town. So
yes, yeah.
an incredible physical comedian. So he was kind of like my mentor in a lot of ways. He really helped me fine tune my skills as a physical comedian. So I put a lot of what he taught me into Art the Clown. So that was kind of cool. So
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he passed away from cancer 2 years ago. So that was
Yep.
that was a bummer. But I like to say, you
Yeah.
know, Stefan's kind of living on through me in some ways. So there's
Definitely some Robbie
yeah.
Rotten in.
Yes.
I can see, I see Robbie in Art in a
You
twisted,
see it now.
demented way.
He's like a very evil Robbie Rotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Robbie the Rottenest.
How would you
Yes.
describe Terrifier and Art the Clown, like as like a film and as a character to people who like maybe haven't seen it or aren't familiar, and maybe even people who are like new to the horror genre?
I would say that, Terrifier, first of all, is a slasher in every regard.
Yes.
And I would say Terrifier is an homage to slashers from the 70s and 80s. This is our love letter to those films like the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and even like, Hellraiser and all those films. It's just like there's a little bit of all of those great films and those great iconic villains in Art the Clown. I kind of look at him as like an amalgamation of all of those horror villains. There's a little bit of Freddy and Jason, Mike Myers, Chucky, Leatherface, Pinhead, all those guys in Art. And it's a hardcore slasher. I will definitely say that. We don't skimp on the
no
gore and the
skimping.
violence. No. It's I would say Terrifier, the first one, is basically Art's introduction to the world. So it happens basically in real time. So it's kind of light on plot. It's more a giant cat and mouse game, the whole entire film. So, but that's how a lot of the original films were too. Like a great point of reference is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which really had no plot at all. It was just pure craziness.
Yeah, exactly. It's you put these characters in an environment with this impending, very serious danger and just let everything go crazy. And like that's all you need, I think, for especially a slasher like this. Yeah,
it's the sequels that build on the mythos.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
definitely highlights not only Art the Clown as a character, but it also highlights the absolutely killer special effects throughout the entire movie. Like I was saying to Adam, it's so gory that it gets to a point like it passes the, oh, okay, this is just gore. We're good now point. To where you're like, wow, that man's head is off of his body and it looks really real, which is such a fun point to get to with slasher films.
Oh yeah, that prosthetic was amazing. It was uncanny how much that looked like the actor Mike Levy. It was just like, wow, this is.
Yeah, they're all gorgeous, and I can't imagine what it's like to like work on set with props and prosthetics that are that realistic. Because like I feel like if you look at them long enough, you're kind of like, oh, that is like a person's head. Like there's no bells and whistles or tricks to remind yourself that like, oh, this is a fake thing. Yeah. I can't imagine how in like an acting environment what that does for your performance to be like holding something that looks so real.
Oh, it's pretty insane at times. Especially in the middle of filming part 2. There's some prosthetics I had to work with, and I was like, I would forget sometimes. I thought that was the actual actor there, and I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not. No, okay, okay. Wow, this looks so much like you.
Yeah, that's nuts. So speaking kind of on villains are always kind of like a fun challenge for actors, for some more than others, but especially horror villains who a lot of the time don't mirror how we like perceive humans to act. They act in such an unexpected way. And that is especially true for Art, who doesn't act like any human or being that I've ever come across. So how do you find that as an actor? How do you prep and like, how do you make decisions for how Art is as a character?
Well, there are very many different ways I approach the character. First of all, I'm not the first actor to play him. He was originally played by Mike Gianelli in the anthology film All Hallows Eve. So Mike set a really good foundation for me to build off of. Kind of like, how Kane Hodder had all those other previous Jasons to build off of for years. But then he took it and further evolved the character in a lot of ways with physicality, and that's what I want to do with Art as well. So the difference between Mike and I is like Mike didn't have any prior training in physical comedy or clowning like I had, and that's what I wanted to bring more of to the character. So that's what that was my goal. And so what I did, I of course looked at Mike's performance, and I also referenced a lot of horror villains before me, especially like Freddy Krueger. He was a great frame of reference for me. But I also delved into my love for iconic silent clowns, I guess you could say, from film, like Chaplin and Buster Keaton and Harpo Marx, and also Mr. Bean.
Yes.
Back when I was about 13 or 14 years old, my aunt gifted me this box set of all these old Mr. Bean videos. And I sat there and just devoured them. I would watch them day in, day out because I loved his physicality. I loved that idea of this mischievous silent clown that was... He wasn't necessarily evil, but he was a kind of an asshole.
Yeah, chaotic. Yeah.
He was very chaotic. And I loved that. And I was like, oh, I would love to play a character like that. So I tapped back into that. I was like, I would, back when I was younger, I wanted to play a character like Mr. Bean. And that's how I kind of looked at Art. I was like, he's a very evil version of Mr. Bean. He's like if you took Mr. Bean and put him on steroids. And I also kind of looked at him and like he's also kind of like the bastard child of Freddy Krueger and Harpo Marx. So that's how I kind of
match made in
first looked
heaven.
at him. It really is. Heaven and hell.
Yeah, both at the same time.
A match made in my personal own hell of worst nightmares.
Yeah, kind of on that point, the film itself was like edited, written, co-produced, directed, effects made by Damien Leone. And I wonder how much there are certain moments in the film that for Art that must be scripted, but there's also a lot of very small things you do that are very reminiscent of silent clown work. How much of those moments came from the script and direction and the past portrayals versus what you specifically brought to him?
I would say that was about 50-50 because Damien had a lot of ideas about what he wanted for the character. Damien is like one of those like Stanley Kubrick type of directors at times where he knows exactly how everything needs to look. I've seen him on set just move a scalpel that's lying down on a table that I don't even touch, but he'll move it just a slight bit until it's just in the perfect position for him. It's just those kind of things where it's like, geez, man, you really know what you want. But he knows what he wants. He knows exactly how he wants things to look. Sometimes he will tell me exactly what kind of face I need to be making in a scene. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember one scene where I was like, what are you going with here? I thought it was the strangest thing. It's the scene where Tara's character is running in the building and she comes across me for the first time and I'm just standing completely still with my hands up and then I lunge at her after a while. It was the weirdest thing as an actress to do that. I'm like, why am I just doing that? Just standing here like this? I don't get how this is scary at all. He's like, just trust me on this. Trust me. When you see it in the film, it's going to be freaky. And then I'm like, yeah, he was totally right. That is kind of very unnerving just to come across this guy just kind of standing there like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I trust him. I trust him on that.
We've talked about before on this show, kind of like for people who make horror, both film and haunted attraction stuff, this idea of like, I think Devin called it like the special scary sauce that
the secret scare sauce.
That certain directors or people who make haunted attractions will add to film or whatever it is that they're making that maybe like an audience member wouldn't notice, kind of like a scalpel being moved slightly over, but makes so much of a difference in the movie. And I think that what you said too about the idea of this Freddy Krueger, Mr. Bean, Buster Keaton sort of amalgamation is something like that kind of silent clowning and of sorts you don't often see in a horror context. Like usually when you see silent horror villains, they're people like Mike Myers, who are kind of the silent and stoic type, and the chaotic kind of clowning types like Freddy Krueger or Chucky tend to have more like quips and one-liners. So to take those two things and put them together in this kind of silent character, I think is really what makes Art stand out as that's his special kind of scary thing that we're also familiar with this funny silent clowning, but to see it in like this horrifying, hellish context is what makes him stand out.
Oh, that's what I love about him. He's like the best of both worlds, and there's this one point where the homeless woman points out that he's doing this because it's fun to him. It's funny to him.
Yeah, he laughs. That's how we know he likes it. Is because he's laughing.
Yeah, and that's basically all you need to know about the character is because I get people all the time asking me, it's like, why does he do what he's doing? It's like, because he finds it to be fun. This is entertainment to him. This is how he gets his rocks off. So I'm like, that's kind of scary in itself. It's like, this is funny to him.
Yeah, Art does everything for the bit. Like, my favorite part of the movie when he's listening to jazz in the car, that's not for anybody. That's for him. Like, that's for the bit.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. And that's where Damien gave me a lot of free range in those kind of areas just to play around. Like the best example of that's the pizzeria scene.
Oh my god.
I had so much fun doing that scene because there's so much. I got to do so much playing around with that scene, and you get to. That's what I love about that scene too. Is you see every facet that you need to know about the character. You see his creepy side when he first comes in and is leering at the girls. Then you see his little playful side where he's kind of joking around with them, making faces and all that. Then you just see his flat out vicious side when he kills everybody in there.
Yeah,
it's great.
Scene,
it's like that's
that
all you need to know
about. Because it establishes how unique of a villain Art will be for the rest of the film, because I feel like a lot of other horror films might set that scene up in the same way, have you sit in the diner stall, and then that's the whole scene. But the fact that you interact with the two women immediately and you're putting the ring on and taking selfies, and it is such a different feeling that in a regular movie would be for laughs or for exposition, and in this movie it is just to unsettle you. It is just to say, you've seen other slasher films, this is not one of those, because Art the Clown is gonna rock your socks right off. It's incredible.
Oh, I love it. It's that's one thing we've also done with the characters. Basically, anytime he does a kill, he has some kind of little wink to the audience, a little joke he puts in there or something, because it's for his amusement, and I think that's part of his trademark. It's when he doesn't do that, he's serious. So he doesn't have that wink to the audience when he, kills that one character. In case there's I don't know if we're doing spoilers or not, but
oh yeah, you can spoil.
You can spoil.
Okay, yeah, it's when he kills Tara with the gun. That's the one time he doesn't have a wink to the audience. He's just like, nope, I'm done with this one.
Yeah.
This is actually this is serious. I was like, I actually mean this kill. I'm done with her.
We talked a lot about the gun use in our text chain about the taboo in slasher films of killers don't use guns, and the movie reason is that guns are boring. But I immediately was like, no, Art needed to use a gun. He was done. He keeps it in his back pocket for emergencies, and this was an emergency, and he used it. And I thought it was the magic of Art the Clown is that he can solve any of those little problems you have. He's a panacea for all horror movie plot holes that a YouTuber would talk about. He's that much.
The idea of calling Art in any way magical is horrifying and wonderful.
Well, he turns on and off the electricity at the end. How do you do that?
Yeah,
he's a magic clown.
He is a magic clown.
Speaking
Art
of
the magic clown.
Speaking of chaotic clowns, I have to ask, how much did you take from the Joker from Nightwing? How much did the Joker come back to you as you're playing Art? Because you you play the most iconic scary clown in all of media in playing the Joker, and then you make your own iconic clown in art.
Yeah. I definitely
just
put a
talk
little bit
about
of
it.
Joker in. Yeah. But there's the difference between Joker and art is, Joker's a very verbal character. He's all about monologuing. They even kind of joke about that in some of the Batman comics. It's like, oh my God, just get him to monologue and you can sneak up on him because he's so full of himself.
Yeah, but they definitely share the same theatricality.
Yes, they definitely have that same theatricality.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, you have to have that fun flair, and you can definitely see some Joker-like qualities even in his facial features as well. There's a little bit. He kind of looks a little bit like Joker in some ways. So it's like,
yeah.
There's definitely an influence there.
Yeah, and then in kind of talking about the idea, we've talked about this before on the show, and we can't seem to come up with like a concrete, definite answer, nor can anybody. But kind of speaking about the Joker and about art is like, why do you think in horror culture we are so afraid of clowns? Like, I know there's a lot of like, oh, Tim Curry's performance in It made people afraid of clowns, or it's the Uncanny Valley, or all sorts of different references for why people are afraid of clowns. But to you, like, what makes clowns so scary?
Well, I think part of it is the Uncanny Valley, which you talked about, or it's because they're so close to looking human-like, but they're not. And I think that's a little bit freaky to people. And I think what makes them more scary as well is when you know the history, John Wayne Gacy, about what he did with Pogo. That's you have that always in the back of your mind. You always have Gacy in the back of your mind now when it comes to clowns.
I know. I always have Gacy in the back of my mind.
But it's also that idea that clowns are supposed to be good. They're supposed to be there for everybody, to make people happy, for amusement, and that idea that concept has been perverted in such a way that it's the opposite of what a clown should be. A clown should not be killing people and stalking people and all of that. I think that adds that extra little bit of creepiness to the characters that way. I think that's what scares people. Is that it's the combination of all those things.
Yeah, especially about them being kind of almost human, is that clowns, and I think a lot of horror comes from this, of people or things acting in a way you don't expect or you don't anticipate, breaking someone's expectations of what a clown should be or how things in the world should work, I think is where a lot of horror kind of comes from. So to have something that looks almost human and has like human features, but they're exaggerated or they're not quite right. And then especially at the end when Art comes back from the dead, whatever supernatural abilities he may have, like that's not something you expected out of him, because prior to this, he seemed to be bounded by the limits of human capability, but then that kind of gets thrown out the window. So that's something that you wouldn't expect, and that makes him even scarier.
Yeah, and I think also it's just like clowns are known for being unpredictable, and I think that's that unpredictability factor there also is a little bit freaky too, because you don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah, it almost seems like
you don't know what to expect from any clown.
Right. Yeah. Like clowns in the positive form are, entertainment for children by being exaggerated and near human, and they can do things that we wouldn't think possible as a kid, like turn a balloon into a fun-looking dog. But then you translate that unpredictability and that exaggerated humanity into the adult realm, and it becomes terrifying, not only because of the unpredictability, but also because of the connection we have to clowns as a child.
Right.
I think a lot of that has gone away now because a lot of kids are afraid of clowns, which fair enough.
The idea of a horror clown has kind of almost taken over the image of a positive clown. I feel like a lot of people, when they think about clowns now, they associate it with horror or something terrifying rather than children's clowns or commedia or any kind of other form of clowning.
I've actually gotten some hate from real clowns because of it. Like, how dare you do this to clowns? So I'm like, oh, calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, calm down.
Yeah.
I know. I've
as two actors who have done clown training, I'm not offended. I think you're fine.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't know.
I feel for professional clowns who like a lot of the times this idea of a horror clown can like hurt their business or image, but also they're so different because horror clowns typically and shouldn't exist in our actual world, except for like, you know, when people dress up as scary clowns and stand out on the side of the road for 6 months for some reason. But other than that, they tend to stay in kind of the fiction realm. And I think in a way it can just be like, it's another form of clowning, you know, it's exaggerated humanity and it's just in a different way. Instead of for delight, it's for terror and fear.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So since we on this podcast talk a lot about haunted attractions and haunted houses and kind of the entertainment industry kind of side of horror, if there were a haunted attraction based on Terrifier or based on art, what do you think would like have to be included in like such an attraction? Because that will be my dream, to have a Terrifier haunt, and no one's done it yet. So I want to know, what's the dream pitch?
Someone has
really?
done it. Yeah, I down in North Carolina last year. I went. It's a haunted attraction called Pinhead's Graveyard, and they have different scenes from different horror films in that. And I was invited down for 1 weekend. I spent down there and I signed autographs and all that. But the Thomas who runs it, he played art in one of the segments in there, and it was probably the longest segment that you go through. And he did a whole thing with having someone come over and sit on his lap and taking selfies, and he did the ring. And then he revealed a body hanging upside down. He went over and started cutting it and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah,
he went all out on it. It was
has
fantastic.
to be the scene. That probably is the scene. Is the
I feel like though
the poor lady who becomes two poor ladies.
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely have to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, if you were going to like dedicate a whole experience to art or to Terrifier, like, there are so many iconic moments. It would be hard to pick like what exactly to put in. Yeah.
You definitely have to put the horn in somehow, though. That's his trademark. Is that horn? It's like that's how he taunts people. So
yeah, I think he should also include whoever's playing art riding the bicycle, but specifically in the behind the scenes footage where you're singing "Bicycle" by Queen, because that's what I want.
Oh, that was such a delirious night on set.
That seems like it was the product of a delirious evening.
Oh, yeah. Because I think that was maybe like 4 o'clock in the morning when we're filming. So we're all very delirious at that point. So that was a fun night, though.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many times I crashed that damn bicycle.
It's a bike, right? It's not a tricycle.
Oh no, it's a bicycle. Yeah. It's just there's two tiny little wheels, and I mean I'm 6'2", so I mean it's already hard enough for me to ride it. Then I had to ride it with those big, huge waffle stomping shoes that I was wearing. So I was just like, oh my lord! At first, we didn't even know if I was going to be able to ride it, and so I had to practice on it and got it going. But oh boy, it was fun, though. It was fun at the same time. But I mean, I would be sometimes just riding and I would just randomly just fall to the side for no reason. I'm like, oh, Lord, okay, cut. Let's do it again.
I like the idea of in-universe Art also struggling to ride the bike. Like, he does it for the image, but he also can't quite figure it out.
That's why he has the gun.
That was a real crash,
sees him.
too.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I saw the final cut of the film when that Damien had kept that crash in. I was laughing hysterically. I was like, oh, thank God you kept that in. That's fantastic. I love it. Because it adds a little extra flavor to the character when things don't always go right with him. And I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Some of my favorite moments are when Art, like, repeatedly gets knocked out with the, like, 2x4s because things aren't always particularly going his way. I feel like it's such a slasher thing to, like, you shoot Michael Myers or Jason and they keep going, but to have Art get taken down even for a couple of seconds is really fun and interesting and different.
Yeah, as like a Tom and Jerry-ish type of...
Yeah, like a cat and mouse, exactly.
Like Looney Tunes type of, like, aspect to the character in that way. It's like, yeah, he's kind of cartoonish in that way, where he can take a licking and keep on ticking, but it will take him down for a second, then he's pops back up. He's like, okay, back to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up there. But speaking of Art popping back up, there is a second Terrifier film in the works, yes?
Oh, yes. I mean,
yeah.
We were almost finished filming when we had to go into lockdown with this virus. I think I had maybe like 4 or 5 more days left on set. So like the majority of the film is already finished. Like right before we went into lockdown, we were filming probably the biggest set piece in the film, which is batshit crazy. It's
yes.
I really wish I could tell you what we're doing in this scene, but this is one of those things that everybody's going to be talking about. This is one of those things that might have to be included in a haunt one day, because there's so much that goes on in this scene, and we're probably going to get a little bit of hate from some people for this scene too, because we do some controversial things in it. And
oh man! Oh, I'm right.
Horror.
Well, Art's a controversial man, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to push that envelope. And so, but it's so this. And Damien right now, even though we're in lockdown, he's been not slacking at all. He's been editing everything we've filmed up to this point, so he's trying to keep us on track right now. So, and he sent me some of the scenes already so I could look at them, where he's already put the sound effects and the music and everything in, and it's just like, oh my god, I think Terrifier 2 is going to blow Terrifier 1 out of the water, and it's because we have kept everything true to the character. We haven't pulled back in any ways. We've just only added more into it. Like we're a lot more plot oriented this time, I guess you could say, because now we're trying to build the universe around Art and see how he affects that world around him. So he brought in a fantastic leading lady this time. Great final girl, scream queen. I think this character, Sienna, people are just going to love her character. She kicks so much ass. Yes, I'm so excited. She's fantastic. She's not one of just like those demure, just type of characters. She's got an edge to her, and I love it. Because that's the type of person like Art needs to go up against. He needs to go up against someone that has an edge to them, that they're just as messed up as he is in some way. So that's what I like about this character. Yeah. It's like, I'm so excited for people to see her, and she has the relationship she has with her brother, which is he's almost kind of like a Tommy Jarvis type of character in some ways, which I really like too. So I'm like, it's so much fun. I think everybody's just going to love what we're doing in this film.
That's exciting.
I'm so excited to see it.
I'm so excited for everybody.
We'll have you come back when you can talk about it.
Because there's so much I want to talk about. It drives me crazy because, oh my god, it's just...
What a golden egg you're sitting on, but keep it under wraps and we'll all know soon.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to pimp, promote, social medias, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram under David Howard Thornton, and I'm also, because I do a lot of conventions, but because of the pandemic right now, I can't do conventions. But I do, if anybody still wants me to do anything for them, I do Cameo, which is like where you can record little videos and stuff like that. You pay like a small fee. I charge the same as I charge for an autograph. I just charge $30. I know a lot of people charge like over $100. I'm like, I don't want people going broke just to get like a minute and a half, 2 minute long video from me. But but it's I do a lot of birthdays and stuff like that for people, so it's kind of fun. So you can find me on Cameo if you want under David H. Thornton. It's kind of I enjoy it.
That's great. And everyone go watch Terrifier on Netflix. Like,
yes,
we're all watching a bunch of movies and TV shows on lockdown right now anyway, so take the time, go watch Terrifier. Especially if you like slasher movies, you're going to have a great time.
Yeah. And Stan Art the Clown.
Film.
Yeah. Thank you
Stan
so
Art
much.
the Clown is the thesis.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was absolutely amazing having you.
Oh, well, it was great being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. Best of luck with the rest of the filming of the second movie. We are so excited to see what Art's bringing this time. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, he's bringing a lot. Trust me on that. There will be a lot of blood.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
What
from
fun.
the interview.
What fun that was.
What fun. Yeah, David was an absolutely incredible guest and really needs no more. We already gave him all the praise. Yeah. He was incredible and amazing. And now we get down to brass tacks.
Yeah, go watch Terrifier on Netflix.
Listening. Yes, go watch Terrifier on Netflix. And also, if you enjoyed this episode of The Great American Scream, be sure to rate and review us on whatever service you happen to use. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcasts. If you really enjoyed, the best way to spread the word about the show is to tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best form of advertising. Truly, please, please, please tell your friends. We are having so much fun making this show for y'all, and the growth is so exciting. I love seeing people share our Facebook posts and like them and comment. It is so much fun. Adam, could you pimp those social medias, please?
Yes, we are on Facebook at The Great American Scream, and we are also on Twitter at Great Scream Pod. If you have feedback or if there's something that you would like us to talk about on the show, you can tweet at us or post on our page using the hashtag TGAS.
Yes, and if you are a horror professional or somebody in the horror industry and you'd like to chat with us on an episode of the podcast in our interview series during this time when we all have some free time to talk to each other, you can email me at devin@devinwright.com and we will connect from there. A special thank you goes out to Michael Segudo, who recorded the disclaimer at the beginning of this video. He's back.
He's back. He's
That's
beautiful,
right.
And he's back.
And another special thanks goes to Stevie Viola, who wrote the song at the beginning and end of our podcast. I believe that'll do it for us here on The Great American Scream. Next week, we return to the Internet Horror Series. This episode will be on video games, so if you have any video games that you've been scared by, be sure to share them with us. I would love to chat about scary video games. And other than that, I have been Devin Wright.
I've been Adam O'Connell.
And hopefully you have been spooked. And Adam?
Just do it safely.
Do it safely.
Don't
Please.
do it like Art the Clown.
Don't. That doesn't just apply to getting spooked. It applies to everything.